I'm here to talk to you specifically about the programme, the MSc in Human Resource Management. So I'm the programme director and I have been for the last, I think maybe 5 years. So I'm very familiar with it at this stage. Just to remind you, if you do have any specific questions, put the questions in the chat and I can refer back to them at the end. But essentially what I'll do is a very brief overview of the programme and what we hope students achieve out of the programme and what the programme entails, okay? So firstly, you may be asking yourself, why am I interested in studying human resource management? Well, you might be interested in the programme basically because you want to become an expert in the field of human resource management and become professionally accredited. HR is becoming increasingly an important facet of the organisation, and it's really important for organisational success. So employers are looking for experts. They're looking for people who have a very ingrained expertise in the knowledge and understanding of how people behave, how people respond to HR policies, and how to really maximise and leverage the qualities of their workforce. So you may be interested as well, in this programme to really advance your career in this HR-related field. It is becoming increasingly professionalised and underpinned by the Chartered Institute for Personnel Development, specifically in the UK, but much more further afield as well. And essentially, it gives you the offering of a range of roles, and that will depend, I suppose, on your experience to date. But you could maybe get a job as a HR officer, HR analyst, and progress to other roles, HR manager, HR business partner, given that real strategic insight into how to leverage the workforce for business success. But also, maybe you're not really interested in a specific HR career, but you want to progress your career, and in any management position, you really need to understand how to leverage the qualities of your workforce. So it is applicable to lots of other organisational roles as well. You also may be interested in different roles around policy and working with unions and so on, which I can chat about later. Okay, so essentially, the key here is that you have an interest in the importance of people management. And what we hope to achieve through the programme is that you gain that knowledge, that understanding about human resources, but as well that practical learning and how to apply that learning in the real world context as well. And we do try throughout the programme to develop your practical skills, and I'll talk about that in a little while too. Okay. And just as an add-on, we offer both full-time and part-time study options. So potentially, maybe you have a job at the minute and you want to complement your career with study. We offer that facility, and many of our students do take that option. And how that's facilitated at the minute is that our students are actually taught together. So it leads to a really nice, diverse, dynamic class environment. We've got lots of international students, students potentially with lots of experience in HR or lots of experience in a different organisational context. Also with students who've just come from undergrad and who have got real academic maybe expertise or so on. And so it's that class environment that's really interesting and it's really diverse, and we find that it works really well at the minute, where all those different diverse groups can learn from each other and challenge each other as well. Okay, so as I said, overall the MSc in HRM is really about providing you with the knowledge, the skills, the understanding of HR policies, and as well within this global environment. So we do take a very international perspective from throughout the programme that is enabled through various different means, through the international, through our international students, and as well through our international speakers, and from our own teaching base as well. So the programme itself, yes, it's very rigorous. We have great academics with their own specific expertise, which we bring to our teaching as well. But we also, it's a very applied focus as well. We use lots of case studies. We look at different organisational problems, how to solve them, and use our knowledge and understanding of key theoretical concepts, but how do they apply in practice? And often it's those discussions that are the most enjoyable. So yeah, essentially we hope that we equip you with all these skills, knowledge, and intellectual capabilities to equip you for a career in HR. So I'll just quickly go over some of these key outcomes. I just wanted to put this slide up just to highlight some of the main outcomes at the end of the programme. We will cover lots of different HR content, not just look at HR strategy and so on, but all the different functions around HR. And you'll see that through the different module structures, which I'll talk about later. It's not just about the knowledge and the theory, it's about those transferable intellectual skills. So hopefully at the end, I always wish for my students to have developed real critical thinking skills where they can look at different management problems from different perspectives and maybe potentially come up with different solutions as a result. So it's that idea of real critical thinking and developing those cognitive skills is very much important for any masters, and particularly for HR. As I mentioned, there's a real international perspective to our programme, and that's built in throughout all of the modules. Talked about addressing management problems, and that's really, I suppose, the day in, day out nature of the job is that HR professionals need to be problem solvers. So that's what we instill throughout our programme's modules. Okay, we look at lots of contemporary issues, we look at emerging issues. We have a HR Insights programme that tries to capture some of those as well that are not specifically built into the programme. And we also look at these contemporary issues through guest speakers and inviting industry into the classroom as well. At the end of the day, we also hope that you have some employability skills, that you will be able to get a job in HR, whatever direction you want to go in. And there's lots of practical skills as well that we try to build into the programme. So special features in terms of the programme. Well, the first thing is that it is CIPD approved. So for CIPD is a professional body of human resource professionals in the UK, but they are gaining a much more international reputation. Essentially, if you want to become an expert in HR or you want to demonstrate your professionalism, you need to be a member of the CIPD and have that CIPD qualification. So by the end of the programme and by the end of the Masters in HR, you will gain that accreditation. It is aligned closely to the CIPD learning outcomes. And if you're a student member, you're automatically then upgraded to an associate member for CIPD at level 7. It is as well recognised more so internationally. It's very much aligned to the Society for Human Resource Management in America, and as well it's gaining an increasing presence in other markets such as Asia and the Middle East. Okay, so we also have what we call the HR Insights programme. So this is about giving some these additional insights really into emerging or more contemporary issues in HR, as I said, that aren't necessarily built into the programme. So this is kind of facilitated in different ways over the years. It changes every year slightly, but essentially it's about it's bringing together industry leaders, students in a very practical or workshop environment where you can develop your skills in a particular area or develop a more ingrained knowledge in a particular area. So in the past, we looked at things such as HR analytics, negotiation and conflict management. We have looked at psychometric testing, how it's emerging in different forms, coaching. We have looked at developments in employment law. So lots and lots of different things that change from year to year. And for example, this is just one of our students who commented on one of the workshops we did. It's very interactive. It got us all thinking about the role of HR within an organisation. Particularly, we had to provide forecasted targets, various metrics, explain our rationale. We loved the employment law cases, and it was a very practical example of how employment laws have been interpreted. So that feedback was from sessions on HR analytics, and at the time we didn't have it in the programme actually, but and employment law. So and that, as I say, what's really integral to that is that we bring in industry leaders to facilitate these sessions as well. Another kind of key thing I wanted to highlight, and just leading on from what I've just said, is that we do have a range of leading HR and business experts involved in the programme. And this is just a capture really of all the various organisations that have had some role over the last number of years. There are many more. And that might be through guest lectures. It might be through the facilitation of workshops. It could be, we've had organisations provide consultancy projects as well. So we find it's really important to involve these industry leaders and for students to gain this perspective from the external real world context, let's say. And they often enjoy as well hearing the stories from these industry leaders about their own careers and how their careers have developed. And I think that's also what's really useful for our students, to help them understand how they can kickstart their career and what the best what the best direction is for them. So we're taught by lots of leading international researchers. We are all engaged in research, publishing in top international journals. So this is just a selection of the type of journals that we would be publishing in. We've all got our own expertise. For example, my background is in workplace conflict management. And I'm also looking into a lot of social care issues as well. So not only does our expertise come from specifically HR core areas, but all the different contexts that we are involved in that range from, strictly kind of private enterprises to more, for example, public sector or third sector and so on. And I think that expertise really brings, the range of expertise in our team really brings some of our classes to life, where you get that different insight into contemporary research. So in terms of teaching assessment, we do change our assessment strategy slightly from year to year, and we do try to make them more innovative and more enjoyable, and often they are very applied. Sometimes they are simple essays and so on to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding. But then there's also real kind of practical assessments too. For example, in our Managing Employment Relations module, in the past we have done negotiation and conflict management simulations, which was a really enjoyable feature for some of our students in the past. We have also done assessments on interviewing skills and that practical selection process as well. Okay, so it does change, but from year to year. But this is what we have done in the past, and it depends on the context of the module and the context of our operations. So, lastly, though, we also try to involve some career development workshops, particularly I think it's really useful for those students who haven't yet got any experience and are unsure how to get experience. So we involve our careers department from Queen's, but also, as I said, it's that insight from the industry leaders that we involve in the programme is probably the most useful aspect for developing your career. And I've talked about our delivery full-time and part-time. So this is a snapshot of the different modules that we have. They're all core modules. Within our programme, there are no options other than an option between a traditional dissertation and a consultancy project at the very end. But you'll see here there's 8 core taught modules. And this is for a full-time. I'll just show you. It's slightly different for part-time, which I'll discuss in a little minute. But here we have 2 modules here, HRM theory and practice and HRM and context. And what I would say here is these are really the fundamental modules that you do in your first semester, where you're learning about, HR strategy and kind of the overarching HR theories. As well in HRM and context, you're learning about the organisational context, the internal environment and the structure, the processes of the business, basically, and how it impacts HR policies and practice, but as well the external environment on a national and international stage, and how that obviously has a huge impact on HR policies. I'm sure next year we'll have lots and lots of discussions about the current pandemic crisis at the minute, where HR have become so integral in managing the uncertainty around that. So we do update our content in relation to what's going on around us as well. Okay, the other modules are more specific into the functions of HR. So we have performance and reward management and HR analytics, which are taught alongside each other. And these essentially, performance and reward management looks at how to really leverage the performance of your workforce and how it links to organisational performance. And HR analytics is one of our new modules. And we're really excited to have this on the programme. And we are probably one of the first programmes, one of the first anyway, in the UK to introduce a specific HR analytics module. And this is really an emerging hot issue in the HR profession, where businesses now really need professionals that are more adept at analysing HR data and using that data to make decisions that will lead to effective outcomes, and will be able to make predictions and so on. So this module takes you through all the different processes, the different software that you might use to help analyse data, and it's a very practical orientated module indeed. It ran for the first time this year, and the feedback from our students was excellent. They really enjoyed it. And it feeds very well into then kind of your dissertation and so on as well, that in terms of skills around analysing data. These other modules, resourcing, talent management, they are again core functions of the HR discipline, managing employee relations, human capital development in and around training and development initiatives and so on. So they each lend themselves to a specific area. Each of them have some idea of the skills and the what is needed to develop this area and so on. And lastly then, business research methods is essentially how to do research in a robust way, and that very much sets you up and prepares you for your dissertation module or consultancy project that you take into the summer. And essentially that's really what makes the master's a master, is that big independent piece of work. Okay, so this is again just an example of how it might be structured as a part-time degree, where you do 2 taught modules per semester over 2 years, and in the summer of your second year you do your dissertation or consultancy project. And yeah, so if you have any specific questions about that, I know part-timers need to be able to understand, how it's going to fit in with their current job and their current other commitments. So just get in touch with me and I can explain how that all works. Essentially, it's taught in the evening at the minute, and you would be expected to get some time out, from your employer or so on, but please do get in touch, and I will explain. So, and before we go, I just wanted to talk to you about some of the successes, or just give you a little picture of where our graduates are at the minute. And I suppose it's really hard to give this picture. So this I do keep in touch with a lot of our graduates. We just don't have the specific data, but this just shows you all the different range of positions that our graduates can go into, and the range of organisations that they are employed by as well. So, for example, some of our graduates have got graduate positions in consultancy, and we have very close connections to some specific consultancies such as Think People in Belfast, and they operate in Dublin. They're an excellent company and have taken on quite a number of our graduates in the past, and are very keen to take on more. We have, graduates that have gone into junior roles as a HR specialist in big international companies such as Baker McKenzie and so on. So you see here that some positions may be more generalist, some may be more specialist, and this will really depend, I suppose, on your own preference and how you want to direct your career. You'll see that there's opportunities in the public sector as well, through graduate programs, and manufacturing, etc. So there's a wide range here of different opportunities in HR, but it will depend on the experience that you have to date. And I think no matter what that experience is, the Masters in HR will at least catapult you to the next stage very, very quickly. So, for example, we've had some of our graduates who've been very, very anxious about, are they going to get a job at the end of their program, and they've no experience. Maybe they just came from an undergrad degree, and they're very worried, and they secure an entry-level job, but in a flash they're progressing that career ladder, and I've seen some of our students progress very, very quickly from that junior level to a more management level with much more responsibility. Students who I actually invite back to the programme to talk about how they were able to navigate that market so successfully. And then we also have some of our graduates who maybe are studying part-time, who maybe have already got lots of experience in a different sector or a different field, and you'll see that they actually secure promotions very quickly or are able to change their direction. So, for example, one student who used the programme to completely change his career direction from the hospitality industry, and is now, after a couple of HR roles in large organisations, he is now his own boss and has his own consultancy and so on. And it's really nice as well to see how our students are progressing, and we do this through our LinkedIn group for the MSc HRM alumni. And it's a way to kind of connect all our alumni, to share practice, to share successes, to get advice and share opportunities. And as well, it's really nice for us to see how they're all progressing as well. And as we say, we often invite them back. So just to round up quickly, the entrance requirements is normally a 2-1 honours degree or the equivalent qualification. If you have any questions about those equivalents, you're best speaking to Catherine or the admissions. Sometimes we do accept applicants potentially with a 2-2. Now that has to be accompanied with some relevant experience, and that is considered on a case-by-case basis. But if you are interested, or if you have any worries about whether you meet that criteria, it's probably best just to get in touch with me, and I'll talk you through whether it is feasible or not. It might mean that you might have a formal interview, or you might have to submit some written work to evidence how you meet that criteria. So I can talk you through the process for that. And Catherine, maybe you would like to talk through the scholarships?
Yes, thanks.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Would you mind going mute? There's a lot of That's great. Thank you. Yes, thanks for that, Denise. That was a great presentation. So yeah, I just wanted to share a wee bit of information about scholarships and loans that are available. Some of these deadlines haven't passed yet, so you might still be able to avail of them. So for international students, we have three options. So there's a Queen's Management School scholarship for postgraduate students, and we have 400 awards of £1,000. So students would be required to pay their deposit of £400 before the 31st of May. So just in case you aren't aware, that deadline was initially the end of April, but we have extended it to the end of May, just with the current situation, to allow people a little bit more time to organise payments. And then we have an early bird reward as well. So for students who are able to pay their fees or 90% of their fees by the 15th of September 2020 and also hold an unconditional offer, then you would receive an additional 10% off the gross fees. So that's just an opportunity to get an additional discount. You can use the Queen's Management School scholarship in conjunction with the early bird reward. So depending on the price of the fees and things like that, it's quite a significant discount. And then finally, we have the Vice Chancellor's Attainment Scholarship. So the deadline for that is the 12th of May, which is quite soon. And you need to already hold an offer and have accepted your offer in order to apply for that. A separate application is required, which you can find out more on the website if you just Google International Scholarships at Queen's. And you'll find the full list there. So it doesn't matter if you hold a conditional or an unconditional offer, you can still apply for the full fee scholarship. And then just for domestic students, so we have the tuition fee loan available. That's supplied by the Northern Ireland Department for the Economy. So the loan available is up to £5,500. So there is still a bit of a gap there between the cost of the Human Resource Management programme and the funding that's available. Unfortunately, we don't offer any additional funding in order to meet the cost of the course, but you would be eligible then to apply for the loan of up to £5,500 to go towards that. And that works similar. So for any of you who have recently undertaken undergraduate study, it's a similar type of loan. Now, it's not a maintenance grant or a maintenance loan, it just goes towards your fees, but it works in the same way as the undergraduate one. So once you graduate and start to receive a certain wage within employment, then you would be expected to start paying that off. So that's me. That's just a summary of scholarships and loans. So I think, Denise, will we start taking some questions? We have a few already. So I'll just go back to the top. So we have one from Sandra. Can I assume you do not need to be working in a HR role currently? It would be sufficient to be an employee who understands the impact of good HR practices for the part-time course. Oh, you're still on mute, Denise.
Okay, Sandra, I think it was Sandra that asked that question. No, you don't need to have any experience in HR at all. We accept students who from a range of backgrounds. Of course, I suppose if you do have some insight into organisations or into HR, it might help to be able to kind of apply your knowledge and so on, but it's really not essential. And I think that's probably what is so nice about our program, is because of the diversity of expertise, the diversity of experience, diversity of backgrounds on the class. And even for those who have no experience, from their reading, they might make assumptions and think, well, that's not how I would understand it, and challenge maybe others who have perceived it just from their experience. So it leads to some really nice discussions, actually. Yeah, so don't be worrying about experience. Okay. Hope that answers your question. No.
And Sandra's just asked another question then about undertaking the course part-time in addition to lectures and tutorials. What would be the anticipated additional weekly workload? And are there specific days that the part-time lectures would take place?
Okay, so at the minute, full-time, part-time are taught together. The timetable is usually on a Tuesday and from 3 until 9. So basically we do 2 modules back to back. It's a long session, but when it's face-to-face, we provide lots of, tea and coffee and breaks and food. And then for part-timers, they do a Tuesday session in year 1, and then do the Thursday session in year 2 from 3 to 9 in the evening as well. And the full-time timetable is both Tuesday and Thursday. Now that is what it is at the minute. It's always subject to change. There's obviously lots of uncertainty at the minute. But the Queen's will keep you informed if you have noted your interest in the programme about how it will be taken forward. But yeah, so because it starts at 3 o'clock generally, that's where you might need to get some permission from your employer if you usually have a 9 to 5 work schedule, for example. But hopefully we're all adopting much more flexible working lives now. So it might be able to suit. So in terms of the workload, so it's 3 hours of class time per module. Okay. There are additional sessions sometimes that we do facilitate, as I talked about, the HR Insights events and additional industry leader lectures and so on. But yeah, so it's generally though just the 3 hours of class time, although there's obviously the expectation of much more independent study on top of that. So for each module, I would, you should be building in and around another 3 to 5 hours of independent study at least for each module each week. Obviously that is managed within your own capacity and so on, and it changes across the module. There's certain pressure points around assessment and so on, but our students, to do well, you need to keep on top of that every week. Okay. Is there a closing date for applications? No, we take applications, isn't that right, Catherine? Right, yeah. Up until
probably the end of August. Yeah. For domestic students, we'll still take applications over the summer towards the end of August. For international students, although the applications remain open, I would recommend submitting your application before the end of June, just to leave yourselves enough time to organise visas and finance and avail of any scholarships that might still be available.
Yeah, the sooner the better, the more information you have, because you want to be prepared and have everything in place prior to starting the programme. So it's and have that all done and dusted so you can focus on getting stuck into the work. Yeah. So Sandra, I think, has asked another question. If studying part-time, are fees a 50-50 split for each year? It's a good question. Not necessarily. It's actually per cut. So the first year, there are 4 modules, and it essentially is a third of the degree. The second year, there are 4 modules and the dissertation and consultancy module. So it's actually 2/3. It's because the dissertation and consultancy module is actually a whole third of the degree. So it's actually a third and 2/3. Yeah. Okay. Next question. We've answered that one. Can you see any other questions there, Catherine?
Yeah, so we've got one from Marianne. What is the last date to apply for a visa for international students who have a place in the programme? So it really depends on the start date. So if you already hold an offer, I would wait until you receive communications from us in terms of the start date and when you're expected to be here in Belfast. So the earliest that you can apply for a visa is 3 months before the start date of the programme. And then the latest date really depends on what visa you're applying for, the country that you're applying in, and how quickly the visa centres process applications. So normally I would recommend leaving at least 3 to 4 weeks to organise your visa. Although there's normally options to fast track, but they can be more expensive. So really, if you already hold your offer, you should have received some information from either the international admissions team or the visa team to explain how to submit your CAS application. So you need to get your CAS number from Queen's University in order to submit your visa application. So yeah, it really depends on a few things. I'm just going to pop my email address in the chat box here. If you need any more clarification specifically around the visa, I can tailor the advice to your personal situation, and also ask our other teams to get in touch with you to explain anything else that's not clear. I hope that's okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
So I think I've answered the next question about part-time options. Next question from Monique is, how big is the class size on average? Yeah, so the class size has increased over the last number of years. We currently, last year there was a class size of 65. It's a really diverse class, as I've said, and yeah, so in terms of class size for next year, it's quite it's hard to predict, basically, but it's yeah, unless you want any more information about that, it's generally in around 60 and 70 in the last couple of years. Okay.
And then Pooja has asked, looking at the current COVID-19 situation, how will the classes happen? So we don't have a confirmed answer on this yet. The university has been doing a lot of research into whether we start in September and offer the online options for some classes, or if we delay the start date. And we just don't have a firm agreement on that yet. So if you have already submitted an application, you will receive up-to-date communications from the university on how we intend to move forward with the next intake. If you haven't submitted your application yet, we will also be publishing up-to-date information on the website, so you can keep an eye out on the homepage. There's a link to the FAQs surrounding COVID-19, and that's really all the advice that we can give for now. So we are working hard behind the scenes to try and organise what's going to happen with our September intake, but yeah, it's just not 100% confirmed yet.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Jennifer has asked about, is there an option to finish the course before the summer and get a postgrad certificate with the level 7 CIPD? So effectively not doing the dissertation or consultancy project. Well, the answer is no. You need to actually complete the full master's, including the dissertation and consultancy project, over the summer months in order to get your level 7 associate membership. And that's basically because that's how we have aligned our learning outcomes to the CIPD learning outcomes. But we find that's gives you a little edge as well in the labour market, where maybe other applicants for jobs will have their level 7 at a postgrad diploma level, but you have your master's, you have your experience of that huge independent project for your dissertation to discuss and to develop an expertise in a particular area. So it is a really good opportunity to set yourself aside from the rest of the field. So yes, so you need to, it's the full year as a full-time student. Okay. You can, however, still exit with a postgrad diploma after the 8 taught modules, but you just won't be able to get your CIPD accreditation. Okay. So next bit, how to get more information about internships or other job opportunities and the skills we need to have for preparing for this. Okay, so we do not have internships built into the programme. we do have consultancy projects as an option for the last major, dissertation module. So I think the consultancy project is a good way to develop those kind of more workplace-based skills where you're working with a client, you're actually investigating an issue or a project with that specific organisation. And you are then making recommendations for that specific organisation as well. So it's a much more applied focus, and you're building your relationship with an employer. In the past, actually, we've had some really good results out of that, where it's led to opportunities, job opportunities for our students. It's obviously not guaranteed. It all depends on how that project goes. But there's no real work experience, I suppose, built into the programme. But we certainly try to develop your employability skills through various different practical sessions or various other opportunities for networking and ensuring that you have the insights into what it takes to actually progress in your career. Okay. And yes, I can certainly recommend some books for you to read before class begins. Many of our students do get in touch prior to the start of the programme to get some steer on core textbooks, and that's actually available online through our module information database. So I can direct you to that information if you get in touch. Okay. Laura's asking about a conditional offer and whether it can be deferred to next year. Catherine?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So yes, we are accepting deferrals this year. We do often accept requests to defer anyway, but given the current situation, we're being quite flexible. We understand that there's a lot of uncertainties for people at the moment. So if you're not sure that you definitely want to study in September, then if you get in touch with me, my email address is there, or if you reply to the email that you received with your offer letter and request for a deferral, then that should be fine. You do need to make sure you request it, though. You won't be automatically deferred until next year.
Okay, thanks, Catherine.
And also, sorry, just to note, at the moment there's no urgency with accepting or declining your offer. If you're only want to defer because you're not sure what you want to do yet, you can hold off on that until there's confirmed communications from the university, or even if you just want to wait for any other reasons, you don't need to request that deferral straight away. You can wait until maybe over the summer until you have a clearer picture of how September or October time might look.
Thanks. Amy's asking, is there a proposed start date for the full time? And I think, Catherine, you had it's just alluded to that. It's normally the last week in September, but if you have noted your interest in the programme, we'll get in touch with you once we have confirmation about the format of the programme in the first semester and when it starts. I've talked already about recommended reading lists. Again, just to remind you, get in touch and I can direct you to the module information database or give you some recommendations for core textbooks to get you started. Okay.
Maria also asked there, are we going to have a supervisor for a dissertation?
Yes, so at the minute, yeah, we do assign supervisors to individual students to help them through their dissertation. It's usually signed early on in semester 2, in and around this time actually, that our current students are having discussions with their supervisors and developing a proposal as part of the research methods module, which then is taken forward to their dissertation. And that supervision process is quite a formal process in order to manage it effectively, but essentially you get meetings, at least 2 meetings with your supervisor, and you also get some feedback on draft chapters of your dissertation as well. Okay, for me, I think that's a really enjoyable aspect of of the program is that you start to really build that relationship with your supervisees, and we've had some excellent dissertations in the past, and really interesting consultancy projects as well. So you get a supervisor for both options. Okay. So Sandra is asking, in light of the current circumstances, if unable to recommence face-to-face tutorials, would you be able to facilitate lectures online? So again, this is all in discussion at the minute, and we should be able to provide confirmation on, how it will look, hopefully in the near future. And just keep on touch with us, and we will let you know on any updates on that. Shannon is asking, what kind of topics have previous students looked at for their dissertation and consultancy projects? Oh wow, there's such a range. So students have done things on performance management. They have investigated the emergence and kind of new forms of how organisations are adopting performance management systems, how many organisations potentially are ditching their performance appraisals and why, and how that is effective. We've had organisations in terms of consultancy projects wanting to know how best to implement new performance management systems, for example. We've also had projects that look at coaching and implementing mentoring systems in organisations. We've had dissertations that looked at innovations in conflict management. I'm just thinking of some of my own students. There is a real range, and what is really nice about the opportunity for a dissertation is that something throughout the programme may have struck a real chord with you, may have really interested you. It might be diversity, it might be inclusion, it might be conflict, or it might be the role of unions in organisations, or it might be some real practical kind of practices such as psychometric testing, or there's such a range here. And I think, depending on what you're interested in and where you see you want your career to go, then you can design your own dissertation around that topic, and become more of an expert in that. And often it's instigated by some of the assessments that you do as well. Consultancy projects are set by the client, by the organisation, and we give you these options, and you can then apply as such for these consultancy projects, and then they're assigned to you. So it's very much more applied in the interests of that actual client, as opposed to bringing your own edge to it. But you can negotiate the objectives with that client as well, depending on what you want out of it too. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. Maria's asking how many days a week is the full programme. It's two days at the minute, 2 days a week, 12 hours in total. Okay. And Sam is asking, yes, recommended reading I've already addressed. Sandra. Okay, more detail on the dissertation. Sandra's asking, what is the word count expected? So, for example, the dissertation is between 15,000 and 17,000 words. You might think, oh my God, that's an awful lot. But many of our students, by the end of it, are asking for their 10% allowance to add a few more words in, because I can't fit it all in. So yes, so it's a 15,000 to 17,000 words. It's broken down into various chapters. We take you through that process, so it's very much achievable over the summer. The consultancy project, on the other hand, is a slightly different assessment. It's a consultancy report. It's only 10,000 words. It's got a different kind of angle to it, where it's much more applied, but then we also expect that you present your consultancy project and the outcomes from that to us and to the client. So there's an additional element to the assessment for that. Okay.
So Monique has asked there, for the dissertation, are we able to choose the organisation to research? For example, could we choose to research on a company from our home country?
Yes, and often when it comes to dissertation and the opportunities for research, we have to be guided by the practicalities of that as well. So we have to be, take a very common sense approach. And often that relies on kind of what access you have to data. So many of our students do think about what the network that they have, or, what access they do have, and they can use organizations that they're more familiar with, and they can use them for case studies. But they also, many of our students do cross-sectional surveys and send them out, online and so on. So there's lots of various different ways and means that you can do your dissertation. For example, this year, because of the situation, we are actually encouraging our students to think more about secondary data resources, because there's such a wealth of data that's available open source now, that you can actually learn an awful lot and design your research question and dissertation around what's available there. So we take you through all that process, and it's very flexible depending on what access you have and what your interests are, and so on. Okay. Pooja is asking, will the international students get 2 years time to find work once the course gets completed? Catherine?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. So Pooja, I assume you're referring to the announcement of the 2-year post-study work visa. So just to clarify, the government did announce that a few months ago, but it since has never been progressed to be, 100% confirmed, and through like Parliament or whatever happens. It is hopefully still going ahead. It is supposed to be implemented in time for students who are graduating in summer 2021. So that would be relevant to yourselves if you're planning to start in September 2020. And if it does go ahead, then yes, all international students would then have a 2-year stay back option after their course is completed, to allow more time to find jobs and work in the UK. However, just with everything that's going on currently with the pandemic, I assume some of those other issues in government have been sidelined for now, but hopefully they will pick that up again and get the bill passed through, so that everything will be in place for our students graduating in summer 2021. I would recommend just keeping an eye out on the UK visas website. That's probably the best place to find up-to-date information on that.
Okay, thanks.
That answers.
Jane, maybe you want to take that question as well.
Yes. So Jane, in terms of tuition fee payments, as the loan is 5,500 and the course is 7,000, how may the top-up payments be split between the semesters, and do you know when they are usually paid? So the best place actually to find out about the options for payment is on our student finance page on the website. If you just Google student finance, Queen's University Belfast, I'll actually pop some links into the chat box when we finish to refer you there. But normally students get the option of whether they want to pay their remaining balance up front, or if they want to split it over installments. So normally you get the opportunity to either pay by direct debit or 3 installments throughout the year. So yeah, there's a couple of different options, and really you would just choose the one that suits you best. So you wouldn't be expected to pay it all up front, but just, yeah, with installments or whichever means suits you. But I'll post a link to where you can find all of the different payment options.
Okay, thanks. And Maria's asking about whether knowledge of statistical analysis is necessary for the dissertation. Is statistical analysis taught in any of the modules? Yes and yes. Well, yes to a degree, and yes. We do in research methods, yes, part of that module is about learning statistics and learning how to use, for example, relevant software to do that, whether that's Excel or SPSS. So that's very much an aspect of quantitative data handling. And but also in that module we also talk and discuss and learn about methods around qualitative data. So and I understand, I don't know whether maybe you're excited about using statistics for your dissertation, and absolutely you have that opportunity to do that. But at the same time, many of our students use qualitative methods as well. I'm a qualitative researcher mostly because I just love talking to people and I want to understand why things happen the way they do. Yeah, so we prepare you for both kind of options that way, or mixed methods as well. The HR analytics module also prepares you for kind of that statistical approach too. Although it's because of the software that we use, it's not a full-blown statistics module that you might expect in other kind of research methods degrees. Okay, so certainly have a look at the module information on online, and I can direct you to that if you get in touch. Okay, so where are we now? Sandra is asking again just some clarification. Can the end of the course, no, sorry, can I clarify something? The course after studying 8 modules without doing the dissertation and come out with a PGD? Yes, you can, but you will not have the CIPD associate membership. Okay, it's and essentially if for the labour market, for the labour market for HR professionals, particularly in the UK, many employers do expect their HR professionals to be CIPD accredited. So therefore, the master's element is important. It's necessary, and we always encourage you, once you've got to that stage of all the top modules, that you do take on the masters as well. It's actually a compulsory part. That's what you're signing up to do. And often when you exit with a PGD, it's often for other various reasons. So we do encourage you to take it right through to the end so that you do get your CIPD qualification. Okay.
That's great. I think that's all of our questions. And does anybody have anything else they want to ask before we wrap this up?
Just to, as maybe you're thinking of any last questions, if you do think of anything else, please don't hesitate to get in touch with myself. I'll put my email again just on the chat box. And I can follow up any queries that you have or give you any more information about the specifics of the programme and how it's delivered.
That's great. Thanks, Denise, for facilitating the webinar and delivering all of the really detailed information about the course. I hope everybody found that useful. And yes, as Denise said, feel free to get in touch with us with any further questions afterwards. And this has been recorded, so I will share the link with everybody as well. Oh, Maria's just jumped in with the last question there. When should we expect an answer about the changes in the programme due to COVID-19? I know that the university is releasing some comms very soon, but it still may not exactly have a 100% confirmation. It's such a fluid situation. It's really hard to predict how things will be in September or October time. So we're trying to plan, but also leave an element of flexibility as well. So just try to be patient. I know it's a bit difficult, it's so uncertain, but keep an eye out for any communications coming from us, and keep an eye on the website as well for any other updates in the meantime. But thank you very much, everyone, for taking the time to join. And thanks, Denise, it was very informative.
Okay, all the best. Thanks.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.